So April 17th here in southern Ontario, Canada. Continuing with the WEF, let's look at what happened in Sri Lanka. In 2000, you may recall the WHO branch of the WEF convinced the bulk of the Western countries that a panda had been set loose. You know what I mean? Now, Sri Lanka, about half of its income countrywide was tourism. The other half was agriculture. So, following the WHO's advisements, they shut down tourism, travel, you know. Poof. Big kick in the economy, right? Kick to the economy, I guess I should say. The same year, following the UN's farming advisements, sustainable farming scheme, the UN being another branch of the WEF, they cut nitrogen fertilizer use by 35%. Shouldn't be a big deal, 35%. Turned out it was a big deal. Production fell by 85%. Oof. So now they got no income stream effectively and had to actually import food. And they tried to turn their farming around the next year, said, well, that went bad. Well, you can't turn that, can't correct that apparently as quickly as what you can bollocks it up. So in 2 short years, they were broke desperately. They couldn't import food, fuel, medication, everything. The populace rioted. You may recall the footage of them storming the, I'll say, presidential palace. Now, it was a duly elected democracy, but it had become like the ruling family. From the Grand Poobah down, everybody in the government was friends or family. Kind of sounds like how Trudeau runs things, right? So, anyways, the Poobah and everybody managed to flee the country. There's a little bit of who-to-do, but they all got away, and I'm sure their pockets were full, but the royal coffers were empty. Now, here's we come to the crucial part of it. Sorry it took this long. The IMF, the International Monetary Fund, comes in and bails them out. That's what they're there for. I won't go into the complexities of how, like, I think there's all but 4 countries in the world who are IMF members. And there's a complex formula of GDP to population to how much each country pays every year. That's not important. Here's what's important. The Sri Lankans held an election, and I didn't follow it because it doesn't matter. Did they vote in a centrist party, left party, right party? Really doesn't matter, because when you take that loan, or loans, plural, however it works, from the IMF, as long as that country owes money to the IMF, they have to follow the political dictates of the IMF. Yeah, there's the hook, you see. There's more, if you read the contract, there's more pages upon pages of, I'll say, governmental policy than what there actually is on financial terms. You know what I mean? If you fall behind in a payment or can't quite make it, the interest, blah, blah. So, the IMF bought Sri Lanka. And that's what I mean by the test guinea pig for the World Economic Forum. And in summation, I'm just going to leave it here. You might notice that Trudeau has stated that he wants a 35% reduction in nitrogen. The whole UN sustainable farming scheme. Although he hasn't really mentioned that lately, but he hasn't, well, you can see where I'm going with this, right? And in final summation, if this was a giant game of Risk, let's say the game of Risk, remember you conquer countries, who would you want? Which country would you want in the world? Say a really large country with a relatively small population, rich in resources, with an infrastructure already in place to harvest those resources, I'll say. I think Canada would be number 1 on my list. Let me know what you think in the comments.